Imagine being a teenager and suddenly accused of a brutal crime you didn't commit. Imagine losing your freedom, your childhood, and your future, not because of evidence, but because of the color of your skin. This is the story of the Central Park Five, one of the most infamous examples of how America's justice system can be twisted by racism, with devastating consequences. Welcome back to Silent Scars, where we uncover true crime stories through the lens of racism and sexism. Today, we're diving into the case of the Central Park Five, five Black and Latino boys wrongfully convicted in 1989. Their story is a chilling reminder of how quickly truth can be ignored when prejudice takes over. It was April 19, 1989. A 28-year-old white woman, later known as the Central Park Jogger, was brutally assaulted and left for dead in New York's Central Park. The attack shocked the city. Fear spread like wildfire. Headlines demanded answers. Politicians called for justice. And within hours, the NYPD rounded up a group of teenagers: Kevin Richardson, Antron McCray, Yusuf Salam, Raymond Santana, and Corey Wise. They were just 14 to 16 years old. They had no solid connection to the crime. No physical evidence tied them to the scene, but to police and to the public, they looked guilty. Why? Because they fit the stereotype: young, Black, Latino, and in the wrong place at the wrong time. From the very beginning, the investigation was built on coercion. The boys were interrogated for hours, some for over 24 hours, many without their parents present. No lawyers, no protection. They were children, confused, scared, exhausted. Under immense pressure, they broke. They gave false confessions, telling stories the detectives wanted to hear, stories that didn't match each other, stories that didn't match the physical evidence. But none of that mattered. The police had their suspects. The media fueled the hysteria. Newspapers labeled the boys as a wolf pack. Headlines screamed about so-called wilding. They weren't treated as kids. They weren't treated as innocent until proven guilty. They were painted as monsters, and society believed it. Despite the lack of DNA evidence, despite the contradictions in their stories, the boys were tried as criminals. The prosecution leaned on fear, not facts, and the jury convicted them. They were sentenced to between 5 and 15 years in prison. In the eyes of the system, the case was closed, but in reality, the true attacker, Matias Reyes, was still free, and he went on to commit more crimes, while these innocent boys sat behind bars. This case wasn't only about racism, it was also about sexism. The assault of a white woman was weaponized to stir racial panic. Politicians and the media pushed the idea that her purity needed to be avenged, even if it meant destroying the lives of 5 boys of color. Black and brown male bodies were instantly criminalized, seen as dangerous predators. White womanhood was placed on a pedestal, used as justification for the harshest punishment. It was the toxic mix of racism and sexism working together, and the Central Park Five paid the price. 13 years later, in 2002, everything changed. Matias Reyes, already serving a life sentence for other crimes, confessed to being the sole attacker. DNA evidence confirmed it. He was telling the truth. The Central Park Five were finally exonerated. Their names were cleared. But by then, they were no longer boys. They were men who had lost their youth, their education, and years of their lives to a system that had failed them. The city of New York eventually awarded them $41 million in a settlement, but no amount of money could ever give back the stolen years. In the years since, their case has become a symbol of racial injustice in America. Documentaries like the Central Park Five and the Netflix series When They See Us have reignited public outrage and forced new generations to confront this painful truth. Their story forces us to ask, how many other innocent people, especially Black and brown youth, have been wrongfully convicted because of the same prejudice? The Central Park Five were not criminals. They were children who were sacrificed to uphold a racist narrative. Their story shows how fear, stereotypes, and systemic bias can destroy lives. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If this could happen in one of the world's biggest cities, with so many watching, how many more stories like theirs have gone unheard? This was Silent Scars. If this story moved you, subscribe for more true crime cases where racism and sexism distort justice. And let me leave you with one question. Do you believe the justice system has changed since 1989? Or could another Central Park Five happen again today?